you have urinary incontinence? Do you sometimes find that you leak yourself before getting to the toilet? Or do you sometimes are unable to defer the urge to use the toilet? Or do you bedwet? Then this video is definitely for you. In this video, I'll be talking about things to do and things to not do if you have urinary incontinence. If this is something you're interested in, then please continue watching the video. My name is Olakoyokwe. I'm a physiotherapist here in Ibadan, and I'm very passionate about women's health. I believe every woman should live their best life in spite of our feminine complexities. And that's the reason for this channel. Welcome to the channel. Last week, we spoke about urinary incontinence. We spoke about some of the predisposing factors that can make a woman more prone to having urinary incontinence. We also spoke about the different types and what we can do to avoid urinary incontinence. In this video, we'll be talking about things to do if you already have urinary incontinence. There are things that we can do that can reduce the severity of urinary incontinence and in some cases cure acute urinary incontinence. So the first thing I'll be talking about is lifestyle changes you have. The first one is your diet. You need to manage your diet. One of the causes of urinary incontinence is increased abdominal pressure, which is caused by abdominal fat. So food affects weight, right? The less you eat, the more you exercise, the more you can balance your weight. So for urinary incontinence, you need to manage your diet. You need to reduce your intake of fatty foods, and you need to increase your intake of vegetables and fruits. That way you're managing your weight. That way you're reducing the pressure around the abdominal region and reducing your frequency of urinary incontinence. The second thing is bowel management. When one of the causes of urinary incontinence is constipation, when you find out that you have constipation a lot of times and then you have to groan or grunt most times to use the toilet, those gruntings puts a pressure on your pelvic floor muscle, and it can weaken it and make you more likely to have urinary incontinence and increase your frequency of urinary incontinence. So you need to manage your bowel movement. Also, it boils down to the food that you eat. When you increase your intake of food that has fibers, your vegetables, your fruits, then bowel movement becomes easier and then it puts less strain on the pelvic floor muscles. The third one is weight control. You need to lose excess body weight. Being overweight can cause weakness of the pelvic floor muscle and cause incontinence because of the pressure of the fatty tissues around the bladder. So you find that your symptoms may reduce or may even go away completely if you lose excess body weight. So this is your cue to be more intentional about exercises, be more intentional about what you eat in, and be more intentional about controlling your weight. The fourth one is smoking. Smoking predisposes you to coughing. Coughing increases the pressure around the abdominal region, increases the pressure on the pelvic floor muscles, might weaken it, predispose you to incontinence. So if you have incontinence, you need to stop smoking or reduce the amount of cigarettes that you smoke per day. The fourth one is the consumption of caffeine, which can be found in teas, in sodas. Because in Nigeria, sodas are quite popular. Sodas are the fastest things that we can take when we are tired or when we are hungry, and then it looks like we're refueling ourselves. But caffeine is not good if you have urinary incontinence. Caffeine works like a diuretic and it also irritates your bladder. So you need to cut down on things that have caffeine in them. That includes teas, that includes soda, includes coffee, and your symptoms would improve generally. Also, avoid spicy and acidic food if you have urinary incontinence. The last thing is drinking a lot of water. It looks counterintuitive, right? That you're passing urine, you're unable to control your urine, and I'm asking you to take in more water. But when you replace your intake of sodas with water, it helps in the absorption of water back into your body instead of you just passing it out in the case of soda and caffeine. So drink more water. Reduce your intake of fatty food, increase your intake of fruits and vegetables, and have a good weight management system. Whether it's in reducing your portion, whether it's in you increasing your intake of fruits, vegetables, whether it's in you enrolling in a gym, just ensure that you have your weight under control. Now to the exercises that we can do. I said in my last video that one of the major causes of urinary incontinence is a weak pelvic floor muscle. That's the muscle through which the urethra passes through. Now, this is a muscle, and it's the same way you go to the gym to gain strength, to exercise your muscles, to gain bulk. You can also exercise the pelvic floor muscles. So there are exercises that we can do that can increase the strength and help the pelvic floor muscles to be able to accommodate the pressure in the abdominal region. So that leads me to the Kegels exercise. It's a pelvic floor muscle exercise, and I'll be sharing how you can do this in the comfort of your home. For you to carry out Kegel exercise, you need to be able to identify the pelvic floor muscle. Now, the pelvic floor muscle is the muscle just between the pelvis, through which the urethra passes through, the vagina and the anus passes through. For you to identify the pelvic floor muscle, you just need to visualize. Sit in a comfortable position. Visualize the muscle that stops urine from flowing. So now imagine you're sitting on your WC and you want to pass out urine. Now visualize that muscle that stops urine from coming out. So you'd contract that muscle. It's as though you're passing urine and then you're stopping it mid-flow. So just sit, be comfortable. You can close your eyes and try to visualize the muscle that stops urine from flowing. So once you identify the pelvic floor muscles, once you contract it, you're supposed to feel like an upward movement around your urethral region. So just visualize the muscle that stops urine flow, then try to contract it. You'll feel like an upward movement in the urethral region. You already identify the pelvic floor muscle, you contract it, you feel that upward elevation of the muscles around your urethral region, then contract it for 5 seconds and then release it. After releasing it, then rest for about another 5 seconds and repeat. You can do this like 5 times in the morning and 5 times at night. If you're consistent with this, I can assure you, you'll find some improvement in your symptoms and after like about 3 to 4 weeks. After identifying your pelvic floor muscle, then you contract them and then you release. You don't try to hold the contraction. So you just contract, release, contract, release, contract, release for about 10 times and then have about 5 seconds of rest. And then you can repeat it thrice in the morning and thrice at night. So that is for the Kegels exercise. Also, if you have urinary incontinence, ensure that you're staying away from high impact exercises and sit-ups. It only increases the pressure in your abdominal region and causes more leaks. Also, ensure that you stop aerobics exercise like jogging, running for now. It will only increase your symptom of urinary incontinence. But then you can replace them with pilates. You can replace them with core muscle exercises like bridging, like bird dog, and exercises that generally strengthen your core muscles. I'll leave a video of some exercises you can do that can help you strengthen your core muscles and in turn strengthen your pelvic floor muscles. Another thing I will talk about is lifting. When you lift heavy things, you increase the pressure in your abdominal region and then place more strain on your pelvic floor muscles. So as much as possible, avoid heavy liftings. If you have to lift heavy things, contract your pelvic floor muscles and then lift. So that way, your pelvic floor muscle is strengthened, is not weakened, and it reduces your symptom of urinary incontinence. And then the last thing I'll be talking about is the bladder training for those that have urge incontinence. Those are people that cannot defer the urge to go to the toilet. Those that once they feel the sensation to use the toilet, and if they do not yield within seconds, they start to leak. Now, bladder training is very important for you. So for you to train your bladder, you need to have a bladder diary where you note down times where you go to the toilet. So let's say 8 a.m. you feel the urge to use the toilet, you note it down. Let's say the next time you feel the urge is like 11 and then immediately you have to go to the toilet, you note it down. So once you have that diary for, let's say, a couple of days, then you can now train your bladder. So you would not wait So let's say the first time you feel the urge to use the toilet is 8 a.m. and then the next one is 11 a.m. So that means once it's 7:50, you go to the toilet. So you don't have to wait till you feel the urge to use the toilet. So you break that cycle by voiding on schedule. So bladder training, pelvic floor muscle exercise, which is the Kegel exercise, proper lifting techniques would help reduce your symptom of urinary incontinence, and in some case might even stop the whole symptom entirely. So if you find out that you have urge incontinence and then before you get to the toilet you're already leaking urine without your voluntary efforts, then I advise that you get panty liners or pads and then you wear them. You know why? Once you consistently leak, even if it's a little, and then you use the toilet and then you still continue wearing those panties, it can breed infection, and then UTI is also one of the predisposing factors of urinary incontinence. So you can get a panty liner. Once you leak yourself, just remove it and then replace it. That way you're maintaining good hygiene and then you're also working on other things that can help the symptom to go away. Have you learned anything from the video? Do you like this video? Then please click on the like button, subscribe to the channel, and then more interesting content about women's health coming your way. Also, I'd like us to share things that we have done to help relieve the symptom of urinary incontinence in the comment section. So I'll see you guys next week. Keep living your best life. See you. Bye.